You're listening to the Dynamic Thinking Project podcast. This is episode 61, and today's topic is the suffering that comes with change. Hey everyone, Adam Musalli here. Welcome to the Dynamic Thinking Project podcast. If this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. This podcast is released every Friday, and show notes are found at the website, themindtechinstitute.com. It's all one word. Come back often and feel free to add this podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow me on Twitter and Facebook. All links are in the show notes and website. And now, let's get started. This is our 61st episode, and as I mentioned in the previous episode, that in the coming episodes we're gonna dive into some deep waters and straight into the rabbit hole. Are we gonna be sane once we jump into that rabbit hole? I don't know. Is it worth it? That depends on who you ask. But if you ask me, I will certainly say yes. However, since our last episode was about open-minded and how to become an open-minded person, I thought I will squeeze this very important episode about change and why suffering is somehow linked to change, especially after change. After you change something in your life or your lifestyle, or maybe your opinion about something, a belief system, we'll get to that later. So why this is important, you may ask? Well, that's because, as I mentioned in the previous episode, there is a price you pay for being open-minded, and that is the change, especially dealing with the experiences you may encounter during and after changing. Once you become open-minded and start seeing things through a different spectrum, especially whatever glasses your belief system provided for you to see things through. And you know, a belief system, it doesn't only mean religion. A belief system or systems is everything you grew up on learning and knowing. Once your mind is open, you'll start perceiving things in a very different way, and that will change you. Sooner or later, will change you. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Well, this depends on you. You see, this is part of our life management training, which is also available to study online. This course will teach you step by step how to develop yourself and manage the constant quiet evolution we're all going through, whether knowingly or unknowingly. It's basically how to manage your life, and no, not by crystals and herbal tea, but by proper strategies. This whole course is based on social and behavioral science. But are these changes manageable without taking our life management course? Of course they are. You don't need our courses to survive. Those courses only for you if you want to develop your skills and become the best of you. So, with that being said, and let's get the intro out of the way, if you are interested in learning and becoming a fully qualified hypnotherapist, new linguistic programming NLP practitioner or master practitioner, life coach or a counselor, now you can study all that totally online. All you need to do is visit nti.edu.au or themindtechinstitute.com, and you'll find all these courses along with many other courses once you click on the online courses tab. All our diplomas and advanced diplomas are accredited and recognized worldwide. And for more information, all can be found online, themindtechinstitute.com. So, going back to our main topic and why suffering comes with change as a package, let me clarify something first. The suffering we're talking about can possibly be dealt with in general. It's not something you cannot tolerate or you cannot bear. And that depends on what you do and the type of change you had. For example, if you changed after having some spiritual or religious awakening, you'll feel like a stranger among the people who you know, especially family and close friends. And to put it in a more logical example, imagine you were born and lived all your life in a Muslim family in Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, or Iran, and one day you decided to become something else. I don't know, maybe a Christian. Now, what do you think it will happen to you? Beside the fact that you might be stoned to death by some idiots who got their own religion wrong, I mean, as in cherry picking and interpreting the religion to whatever suits them to keep the power over the conformed, ignorant masses. So, beside the fact that you might be a goner, you'll be a stranger in your own home. And I don't mean any disrespect to Islam or any other religion, because of course the religion itself is free from all that idiocy. It's just the people who follow any belief system blindly, without any critical thinking. And if you want to learn more about that, you can go back to an episode called Extremism. And of course, that was an example. I used Islam. I don't know, maybe that doesn't happen these days, but let's say the same thing if you're Christian living among all Christian people and one day you had this awakening and you decided you wanted to become Muslim. I guess the same or similar consequences will occur. It might not be stoning, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen in Christianity too. Think about the Crusades, the conquistadors, the Inquisition. I mean, during the Inquisition, if you wanted to get rid of any person, just say she's a witch or a heretic, and voila, problem solved. She or that person will be burnt at stake in the name of Jesus. So we don't want to, pretend all righteous and all that because there is no religion doesn't have blood on its hand. And the story keeps going on and on. No one is clean. No one. Period. Even Buddhists, supposedly the most peaceful religion, but I doubt that when I see the hate speeches from Buddhist monks directed to their half-brain nitwit followers to burn, to kill and rape the Rohingya Muslims in Burma, regardless what political excuses they will provide, it will not justify the killings. How about the Holocaust? Around 6 million Jews were also killed based on propaganda. Cherry-picking lies led to the horrible death of around 6 million Jews during the Second World War. And now a similar thing happens in Palestine. This vicious cycle doesn't seem to end. So this is also part of the changes, people. Let's consider it the bad changes or the negative changes that may occur after you change. And of course, this doesn't only happen in religions. You'll go through similar struggles and suffering after change even within the academia, the academic world. If you write a paper or a journal or speak the possibility of creationism and intelligent design, extraterrestrials, and other similar things, you'll be ridiculed and most likely executed. No, not by stones as religions do, but you'll be socially executed and flagged as a nutjob. In politics, the same thing. You change your political views, you'll be demonized by some and praised by others. And if you think about those very respectful engineers, as well as some pilots who have thousands of flying hours experience, when they said it doesn't make any sense and it's impossible for 2 towers to collapse when those 2 airplanes crashed into them on September the 11th, 2001. These professionals lost their jobs. They were ridiculed only because they asked questions. So once they changed their views, once they changed their opinion, the suffering followed. It's the same dilemma wherever you go or whatever you do. There is always suffering after change. Sometimes it's permanent and sometimes it's not. Some people will adapt to the new changes and live their lives with their new things, which they have learned, and go over the suffering, and others won't be able to take it. And sometimes they end their lives, as many people do, including, of course, celebrities. You see, this suffering existed alongside the first man, I guess. Even if we go back in history and even to religions, I don't know why I'm using lots of religious examples in this episode, but even in religions, Jesus was a changed figure amongst the Jews. They executed him. I mean, if these stories were real. Muhammad was the same. He suffered. Moses, the same thing. Job, Abraham, all of them suffered. The Buddha, he experienced many types of suffering in the wilderness, and the list goes on and on. So, how can we deal with these suffering after changes? Especially if one day you realize that we're not alone in this universe, or there are many other universes and there are many different copies or versions of you in each of those universes, and you're not the original copy of you. Or how about if one day you realize that God didn't create you, and some aliens from other galaxies or realities or universes, whatever you want to call it, had created you, and the ancients called them gods or angels? What if we're all hybrids here? Or we live in some simulated universe where everything in your life is pre-coded or programmed. But instead of programmed, you call it destiny. We're going to talk about all that very soon, by the way. You see, once I heard a religious person saying that, what if, that statement, what if, it opens the door of the devil because it makes you doubt your belief. Well, that shows how insecure that person he is in his religion. Also, this is what fascinates me. Most religious people, regardless of their religions, they will laugh and ridicule you if you say maybe there is another life somewhere else in this universe, such as aliens, if you want to call them aliens or extraterrestrials or dimensional, whatever. Really, most of them, I mean religious people, will find it absurd and laugh and call you crazy. But those same people believe in angels, God, heaven, paradise, nirvana, Valhalla, or whatever. I think it's more probable and possible that there would be biological or other forms of aliens than the idea of angels with wings. I mean, to me, those winged angels, if they do exist, would be aliens. I'm not going to branch out and change the subject here, but it's just that feeling you experience after you change whether your belief system, views, opinion, or even some minor changes in your life. Could be your career, job, relocate to somewhere else, or whatever changes, especially if it's a belief. And once again, a belief system, it doesn't necessarily mean a religion. It's anything you grew up on, even traditions and political views, academia, or anything that you believe it might be true or the truth. And if you don't know that there is a big difference between a truth and a fact. Fact is always more documented. It's more factual. So how do we deal with that suffering experience or that suffering or that feeling after changes? The very first thing you need to do is to admit that your old views or new views might not be accurate. And get ready to change again when you find more accurate views or whatever you changed. In other words, be flexible and open-minded. I personally might believe something today, but maybe I'll change tomorrow. It's just because I keep an open mind. So maybe it makes sense to me today, and I believe it as it is a truth, not a fact, a truth, until proven otherwise. And there is nothing wrong with that. So be flexible and open-minded. And as I always say in my seminars and classes, always trust the person who's looking for the truth and not the person who claims he found it. And just another simple example. Look at the difference between Jesus and the Pope. The Pope claims he's following Jesus' teaching. And while Jesus slept in the wilderness and half naked and hungry, the Pope got his clothes braided with gold. His jewelry worth millions of dollars, and Jesus was half naked. The golden staff the Pope carries is called papal ferula, which means a rod. And it's worth also millions of dollars, and it's supposed to be modeling the wooden stick Jesus used to carry with him because Jesus was a shepherd. Jesus was a shepherd, so as the church leading the sheeple with a golden cross. And of course, I don't mean Christianity as the religion. I mean the organized religion, the institution, the establishment. The same thing with all prophets and their modern religious representatives. So, trust the person who's looking for the truth, not the one who claims he found it. Also, you gotta be humble with your opinions, and it's okay if you don't know all the answers of the universe. It's okay. It's okay if you don't know, because that will lead you to further your knowledge. You see, the problem with religions and science is they don't admit when they don't know something. So don't be arrogant and admit when you don't know or if you've been wrong about something. No one said you're perfect, and nothing had ever been perfect, and that includes you, religions, politics, and even the universe itself. So be humble and don't chase perfection. And keep in mind that suffering is also useful because it will make you stronger. That's if it didn't kill you. The experience itself is part of the process of progression because it will lead you to new adaptation to your current knowledge and views. Just don't be gullible and don't be too extreme on any side. Lastly, don't take things too serious if it's not in your power to manage it. Not to control it, to manage it, because you cannot control anything. So I think we better grow up and use the word manage instead of control. However, it's important to learn as much as you can about it because knowledge is power. And also, don't detach yourself from people who have different views or opinions than yours. At the end of the day, they might be more accurate and maybe you're all wrong. So keep learning and searching. There is no birth without pain, and there is no ridiculous idea but for those who label it. I think we can end it at this now. And one of the reasons that I thought this episode is important is because when we start talking about deeper things that will make you think, things that will make you even question your reality or your existence, or things are more on the strange side of things. So this will give you a glimpse, or this episode meant to prepare you psychologically, that sometimes when you know something new, it might change you. And that change will lead to a type of suffering. The suffering, maybe it's not in that dramatic word suffering as pain, or maybe it's just social suffering. Maybe it's just within you, as between you and yourself. Maybe just because you start doubting things. But I believe this is something positive. Some people, they cannot handle the truth, and there is nothing wrong with that. But those people will never progress in life. And I believe I was born to learn. I believe I was born to collect as much knowledge as I can. I don't know what's going to happen to me when I die. And I don't think anyone who went to the other side and came back to tell us what was there, and I'm not talking about karma and, other, I'm talking about real cases. There is no statistics. I don't deny something after death, nor I believe it, until proven otherwise. So, what I believe is, I have to collect, I have to learn, I have to collect as much knowledge and information I can as long as I am alive. And of course, there is a price for that. The price is you start questioning things. You start becoming more critical of things. And I'm talking about positive critical. And I think this humbles us. To me personally, it does humble me that there are some things I cannot reach. And that's okay. It's normal. There's nothing perfect. So I hope you got the image that I'm trying to portray here. Try not to make it as a suffering experience, as you go into those doubtful depression and those doubtful things which will lead to some ridiculous behavior. No, try to make it as a positive experience. And as I always say in our courses, whether in class or online, never stop to wonder. Once you stop to wonder, this is when you stop learning. And if you stop learning and you go into that habit of chasing the material dream, nothing wrong with that if you know how to manage it. But if you go into that habit, then of course, nothing will interest you anymore. I don't know how long I'm gonna live, but I want to make sure that before I depart, wherever I go, I'm gonna learn as much as I can. And I think we can end it at this for now, and I think we have covered the major points about today's topic. And once again, if you would like to study and become a fully qualified hypnotherapist, neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, a life coach or counselor, now you can study all that totally online. All you have to do is visit mti.edu.au or themindtechinstitute.com, and you will find all these courses along with many other courses once you click on the online courses tab. And all our diplomas and advanced diplomas are accredited and recognized worldwide. And for more information, all can be found online, themindtechinstitute.com. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, of course, as usual, you can email me. The email is on our website, themindtechinstitute.com. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, especially if you are listening to this podcast on YouTube. The Dynamic Thinking Project podcast is released every Friday. Until next time, take care and enjoy your weekend. This is Adam Muselli, signing out.